if you're an industrial marketer and you have been using email marketing or haven't been seeing the results of the email marketing that you've been doing, on this episode, we're going to cover the ways that I feel work best in 2022.
Gladiator in this art of war. What you think that I've been fighting for? Got a cape on like a superhero. They rushing at me like a matador. Nah, I don't need your energy. I don't need the negativity. I'm just trying to bring my people up. Promise y'all I got the remedy. Straight to the roof, tell them we bringing the troops. We got a little surprise, you thinking that we ain't the truth. We give it 120, we never make an excuse. So go run and tell everybody doubting that we coming for you.
I feel like email marketing has been just this up and down curve that marketing people, especially in industrial, have used sometimes and then stopped using. There hasn't been any set way of doing it. The stuff that I've seen, clients that we've had, people that we've talked to over the last 6 years, it's kind of all over the map with how they're using it and the way that they do it. But if you go back, go back 20 years when email marketing was super popular and everybody opened everything, then it was super effective. But these days, the effectiveness isn't there. The open rate's not there. The list building, all that stuff, it's just gotten kind of kicked to the wayside. Some people still use it, but they haven't changed their tactics. What works in 2022? Because it's a lot different than what worked even 2 years ago. If you look at the history of email marketing, primarily people have used it originally in industrial as just a way to cold message people and kind of get them to open up a conversation with the sales department, have a conversation with marketing and talk about the needs that they have and all that stuff. And then it kind of shifted over the last, let's say 10 years, 8 years, to where people have been using it a lot more from a sales standpoint, using it to automate messages, follow-ups, things like that, really drive new people into the funnel, follow up with people. But the creative side behind it used to be primarily what I would call like a Home Depot ad. So when you get an ad from Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, the way that people have been designing these emails over the years, it's just been everything center justified, and it's just image and banners and text and just tons of stuff on the inside of it, and to where it looks like an advertisement, which is exactly what you don't want to do in industrial and manufacturing. You do not want it to look like this was just sent out to 8,000 or 80,000 people. It's just a blanket ad saying, here's what we do, here's what's new, whatever it is, because a lot of times the email system will block that. And so the email system will block it based on images. The email system will block it based on your spam score and things like that. And how many times have you sent it and how many people have unsubscribed and how many people have reported it as spam. But historically, industrial people, they just keep on doing it. They just keep on grabbing new people on the list and throwing them into it and send it out. And that's hurt a lot of companies, and it's certainly not helped them from a marketing standpoint. So like everything with industrial marketing, you have to look at it and say, this is what we've been doing. How effective is it? Look at the data that can support it. Either way, whether it's working for you or not working for you, you have to have data to support advertising, trade shows, cold calls, cold visits, everything under the sun. You got to look at it. But email marketing has just been like, no, it still works. But a lot of times you can't prove that it works. The systems, let's talk about the systems, the different types of systems that you guys can use. Personally, I think that HubSpot, so anybody else that has watched my content over the last 12 months knows that I'm a fan of HubSpot to a certain degree, not the highest degree where it's thousands of dollars a month, but to a certain degree, HubSpot is the best out there. We have used Infusionsoft, we have used, which recently was purchased in the last 12 months, SharpSpring, Zoho, it doesn't matter what it is. We've used it all either internally or we've used it for our clients. HubSpot's the best because it's the most simplistic and it can do everything that you want it to do in the long run. And as you continue to grow and need new technology and new capabilities with a CRM system that has email built in, then HubSpot can do that for you. Some of the other systems, Infusionsoft was great. I don't know, I can't remember what they're called now, but Infusionsoft was great. And I would rank them up, right there with HubSpot as far as what you get bang for the buck. But as long as you have some system where at the basic fundamentals, you can send out a broadcast email. So that's a broadcast email is a one-time thing. You're not putting people into drip campaigns. You're not sending emails based on automation. You're just sending out an email to 500 people, 5,000 people all at once. That's considered a broadcast email. Most of the systems can do it. If you're on like the free plan with Constant Contact or MailChimp or something like that, it's not going to be the best customization. It's not going to be the best list building, segmentation, things like that. I would say if you're doing a free version of that, you can do the $49.99 version, $50 a month with HubSpot, the marketing starter. You get 1,000 contacts. You can pretty much do the same thing. Now we're an integrator of HubSpot. We're a partner with them, but we don't have any like coupon codes that we can send you or links below that we can send your way. But we are a believer in it because for $50 a month, it's worth the system. Let's look at the current purpose and the strategy behind what you're trying to do with email marketing. So the strategy should be somewhat simple from the standpoint that you need to first build a list. It could be a list that you've acquired over the years through trade show marketing, things like that, where you acquire a list of attendees, 1,000 people, 2,000 people have shown interest to you, lists from your website, lead forms, newsletter signups, all those things. The unsold companies that you haven't had the opportunity to close or they weren't a right fit for you. You want to gather up all of your contacts. And then if you have the option using something that something like Zoom Info to build new lists. Last week we talked about Hoovers versus Zoom Info, and I had some pretty bullish things to say against that because Hoovers is garbage. But if you can use a system like Zoom Info to build out lists of the strategic people that you're going after, then what you want to do is take all those lists. Let's just use HubSpot, for example. You pull them into HubSpot and you create lists based on that. So you don't want to just throw everybody into a singular list. You want to segment out lists saying, these are my trade show people. These are my form fill out people from the website leads. These are my unsold people. These are the opportunities, current opportunities, past opportunities, whatever it is. Throw them into a category because once you get into the execution, the creative of it, you can tailor your message and what you're saying to adhere to that specific list's ideal marketing tactics, right? And kind of like account-based marketing, but you're really basing it off of what interaction did they have with you previously. You really want to segment those lists. It doesn't matter if some of the contacts are 2 years old, 3 years old, things like that. If you don't know if they're with the company still or if that email address is still valid, that is okay. The next step is going to be creating the piece of content. So your email should look like it's something, in my opinion, it should look like something that you just wrote. It should look like a personal email to this person. It should not be center justified. It should not be banner at the top or the little link where it says to view this in a browser, click here, strip all that out. No images, nothing in it. Justify everything to the left so that way when they open it, it doesn't look weird. Now, you're not trying to trick people into thinking that you just wrote it because I think that most people in this day and age know that email marketing is a thing and they're email marketed to frequently, and using AI and automation is a frequent thing. So you're not trying to trick people into it. You just don't want to raise your hand and scream and say, this is an advertisement and I just sent it to 10,000 people. And you want to have this initial piece of content that you're going to create just be strictly informative and try and provide value. This goes back to the stuff we talk about sales, the stuff we talk about industrial marketing, stuff you're doing on LinkedIn. You want to build value first. You do not want to send an email saying, hey, like for us, hey, 2022 is around the corner. What's your budget like? Can we have a conversation? That would come off very rude and in your face, and people don't like being talked to like that anymore. So instead, it could be like something like, hey, 2022 is around the corner. We just created a couple of videos below that we thought you'd get some value out of, or here's 2 articles, or here's an article we wrote that I think is valuable to you. Take a look and let me know if you ever want to have a conversation about what it is that we do. Now, if you guys don't have a content marketing strategy in place, you need to get one. I've talked about this on almost every single video that we create and every single live that we go on. It all revolves around content. That's just what it is these days. There's no avoiding that. You cannot just say, hey, purchase from me, or here's our specs, or here's our capabilities. This is why we're awesome. Do you have a need? You got to try and build value first. And that starts with content. So hopefully you're doing at least one new piece of content a month at a minimum. You can then send those out, and that gets into the execution of kind of the third step, right? So first, you need to build your list and set up your system. Second, you need to create content, and you need to put it in a very simplistic message to them. You want it to be a couple sentences at the top, and then the links to the pieces of content. And then, hey, if you ever need something, let me know at the bottom, and send it out from a salesperson's email address. Do not send it out from marketing at or hello at or info at. You want it to come from whoever the salesperson is that you want them to respond to. And then set that schedule to where you're doing it really on like a monthly basis. You do not want to be pounding people and email marketing them every week. You want to really just have it be like, hey, here's what you missed in the last 2 to 3 weeks. this is content that we've created. I think that you'll get some value out of it that will greatly reduce the amount of people that come back and say, stop selling to me. I didn't sign up for your list. This is spam, right? Will you get unsubscribes? Absolutely. But the thing that hurts you is when they unsubscribe and then they check the little box that says, this should be reported as spam. That hurts your domain authority. That hurts all the rest of your emails will start getting flagged by spam filters and things like that. You want the email to look as if it's something that you wrote, not, like I said, not to trick them, but you want it to just be simple. Hey, here's some content that we wrote, and I'm going to shoot it over to you because it could be valuable. It's literally the same thing that I've told you to do with your LinkedIn marketing and your messages. It's the same thing. You're just sending out content because you want to provide value to them before you ask them to actually give you something in return or take their time away and have a conversation with you. The last step is going to be, you need to be consistent. This is not something you can just start and stop. Those lists get cold. Those lists get old. When you're segmenting the people and you put them into those lists and you say, all right, here's 5,000 people. I just start them into the system, and you start getting bounces and things like that. Bounces meaning that the email address is no good, or it's been blocked by spam or things like that. They're no longer at the company. Those are all things that you can deal with, and you can segment those people out. But if you wait 4 months to do it again, now you have to start all over and say, okay, these are now all cold emails. I don't know if the data is good in the last 4 months. So I'm going to send out a general broadcast email to these people, sending them a piece of content, and then wait for the people to unsubscribe and the bounces happen, all that stuff, and then pull those people out because you don't want to email them again and pull them out again into those buckets of unsubscribe. So you don't want to start and stop this over and over again. You have to have the content marketing strategy in place, and then every 2 to 4 weeks, just drip out one email to those people. If you have a trade show coming up and you can market it to your trade show group, that's perfectly fine, specific, but do not make it that center justified Home Depot advertisement. You want it to look as if you just sent the email. Like I said, not to trick them, but just not to make it difficult to read. But it's all about being consistent, just like everything that we do talking about industrial marketing and technical sales. If you're not consistent, then you're not going to see the fruits of your labor, and you're going to end up just wasting your time spinning your wheels, going into starting and stopping, right? So if you just say, hey, for the next 3 months, 6 months, here's the content we're going to create, here's the lists that we're going to build out, here's the emails that we're going to send, and just start that, you're not going to get people that respond right away and say, yeah, I'm interested, let's have a conversation tomorrow, or 100 people that'll say that. But eventually it'll end up turning into something that could be a potential source for opportunities for your sales team. As always, if you guys are watching through YouTube, hopefully you subscribed. If you guys are watching through LinkedIn, please go to the YouTube channel. We've got hundreds of videos, all the content that we give away for free as this value exchange of us giving you free information in exchange for your time. So be sure to go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and turn on notifications to make sure you know every time that we post videos, and we will see you on the next one.